Good stuff today. We appreciate Zurich and 4 kids. Every year we do this, and we've had great weather. And I know everyone's looking forward to a good tournament. Any questions? No golf questions, I'm sure. Go ahead.
Sean, do you feel like the draft profile of offensive guys that you go after changes at all with Breeze leaving and potentially Taysom or Jameis taking over?
The profile doesn't change. Certainly, we're mindful of our depth at each position, and we're currently in our final board ratings on the defensive side of the ball. I think relative to that position, though, it still stays the same. And traits that we're looking for, I don't think it's a must position. We feel like we've got real good players in the building.
Does the way Jeff Ireland's kind of style work well with your guys' coaching style, and how closely do the scouting department and staff work together?
Real close. Jeff and I were together for 3 years in Dallas, and I think, look, the scouts are in the building. They have been for the last 2 weeks. The coaches are in. So there's a lot of hours right now and just coming up with the final grades. A lot of work that's gone into this point.
I've heard him say before that he kind of treats it as like a rep business, where he just kind of grinds out tape on guys. Is that
absolutely? There's a lot of. First off, Jeff does a great job at heading up the process, because there's we might read a player that has 7 reports, maybe more than that, and there's a little bit more challenge to this year with some of the opt-outs, no official combine. So there's a little less information on average per player that we have to work through, both medically and also from a testing standpoint, but that's just part of it.
Sean, you say quarterback is not a must position.
Correct.
Is it a higher priority now than it would have been last year, the year before?
I feel like we've got 2 real good candidates under contract, and we feel strongly about those guys.
How much does this decision for players maybe to not have the voluntary workout affect everything, but specifically something like that when you're going to have an open position of importance?
It's a good question. Look, there's a little bit of flexibility. We're in constant communication with our team. There's some things that are important, I think, as we ultimately get ready for training camp, and that's our vaccination rate. We're doing really well in the building. We're close to 99% of football operations, phase 1 and phase 2. So we're really down to 2 or 3 people, and that's it. Everyone else has been vaccinated, and look, our state's done a great job. We're kind of at that stage now where everyone's got that opportunity, and we're obviously encouraging that. Our players are in the midst of going through that, so we sent out information relative to that. But back to the off-season program. Look, a year ago these guys trained extremely well at home. I know that Jameis and Taysom, both those guys are going to be guys that work hard at it, and if this shifts in a way where there's some guys coming in, some guys not, that we're not going to worry about that. We'll focus on obviously the training camp, but the players that are in the building now rehabbing and getting ready for training camp. That's really where our attention's drawn.
Sean, there were this year in James, I guess at this point, because obviously you didn't have him, you didn't get a chance to go through the off-season program.
I think a lot. I mean, I think that that year was important for him, but I also think it was important for him to see kind of our program, and so both sides, I think, benefited from that year. He came in and picked things up. He's someone that picks it up quickly, and Taysom's been with us for a while now. So, both those guys, you don't have to worry about their approach and how they work.
Sean, if there were injured players, the medical information this year without the combine, is good enough to make a decision?
Yeah, I would just say, to be fair to the process, that there's just a little less information. So we had our medical meeting the other night, and so it's a little bit like the workout information. There's just a little bit less that you have to go by, and you might have to follow up with phone calls to trainers and doctors. So that's just what this year presents.
Do you feel like you have more buzz heading into this draft than usual since you released a handful of starters and core players?
Yeah, fair question. I don't. There's one. I mean, look, corners are an area that we have to address here between now and the start of the season, and I think we'll be able to find that. But yeah, we lost some good players that we knew we might have to get our numbers below. So I think that's part of operating in the salary cap era.
And then under the same guys, size of draft class, is that more important than usual? Kind of reminds me of 15 a little bit, where you wanted a volume.
Yeah, look, it helps, and every article, every TV show you watch deals with the top 32 picks, and obviously that's important, but those other rounds are, to have a real good draft, I think you have to select well. 95% of the discussion is about the first round.
I know that this is the first time, I apologize, we've seen you since the whole Kevin James thing. If we could just maybe get your thoughts on first the movie and then the
well, look, it's inspired by a true story. I've read the script, and those guys I've gotten to know a little bit, but I'm really removed from it. But it's look, everything Adam does and Kevin does, those guys always do a great job of. There's a story always behind the movie. It's entertaining, and I know it's going to be here in June. Filming is going to be in Louisiana, so that's exciting. But outside of just reading the script, you gotta wait. But there's a lot of unique storylines that maybe are a little different than. But it is kind of fun.
How much challenge was the salary cap difference? Just kind of managing the roster this offseason?
I think each year is a little different this year. This year was, anytime you have to call up a player maybe that's played well for you, it's always difficult. That never gets, never get used to that. So, but I think for the last two and a half years, we knew, there was going to be this post-Breeze period of time, and I think overall I'm kind of pleased with how we've been able to manage the numbers. And Mickey and Kai and those guys, all of us are working hard on different equations. Work on position equations relative to the draft, and that's the keys. So when the process is complete and you're going to training camp, you're hopefully pleased with what you've been able to do with some of the losses.
Are there any positions you guys feel like are particularly deep in this draft class?
In this class, look, I think there's a few more tight ends than I'm used to. That's my opinion. I think that there's some line depth, offensive line depth. We haven't gotten through. We're still working through the defensive element of it. But a lot of it's just depending on who you talk to. But I felt like the O-line read, but also the tight end read, I felt was a little deeper than most.
What's the biggest challenge with some of the guys who've opted out? Is it just that you haven't seen them play for
college players?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you'll read a player and then you'll hear, all right, this guy started 17 games in his career. He didn't play last season, and there's just that. It's a lot of time. The workout becomes important. What kind of shape is he in? Sometimes I think you go around the country. Some players opted out because their conferences were opting out initially, and then they were back in. And so each case is different, and we're in the projection business to begin with. So we're just having to do a little bit more work there. But it is something you pay attention to, and not the decision to opt out, but just the idea that somebody might not have played football for the better part of a year and a half.
Was there anything you guys learned about James last year that surprised you at all?
Well, you learn just about a person, his personality, his intelligence, how he is in the locker room, how he interacts with his teammates, how he picks things up, all of those things. But from a surprise standpoint, no, I don't think so. I think it was good. It was a good process, you know. And watching him come in, obviously he's got tremendous skill set, and you know, he's someone that I think did a good job with his teammates.
Is there an excitement level from your standpoint for the first time in 15 seasons, going in and having a new challenge with a new quarterback and just a fresh look at it?
I don't know. Look, there's an excitement level, honestly. Every time you turn the page and you start a new season. I don't think we've hit that stage yet where something happens and you realize that you know, Drew's not here, or he'll be playing in the Pro-Am tomorrow. Yeah, I think the approach is still the same, though. I think we've got a good core group of young, talented players that have won a lot of games and that have experienced that taste of the postseason, and I think, you know, you build your team around that. But someone asked me the question you're asking: is there an elevated level of excitement? I think it's the same. You know, you, as a coach, you owe it to that roster to work hard and to put them in the best positions to have success, and that's our responsibility. All right, thank you guys. Yep.